One of the worst things you can do is use your device for mood regulation. So many people are going on for higher level supernormal stimuli. They're going on to get bigger hits. That's the idea of hypersexualized content or violence or drama.
If you've been feeling more anxious, depressed, or struggling to focus lately, but you can't figure out why, this episode might just change everything for you. I am here with Dr. Trish Leigh, who is a neuroscientist who's been mapping out thousands of brains and discovering something alarming. What she calls supernormal stimuli from our devices are literally rewiring our brains in real time. And she's going to explain why your phone creates the same dopamine spike as cocaine, showing up as dysfunctional brain scans. Most people don't realize that their daily screen habits are creating anxiety and sleep issues, and they're trying to fix it with everything else. But Dr. Leigh has the data to prove it. And more importantly, she has the solutions. Let's get into this. Dr. Trish, welcome to the show. I know that you just had a recent viral interview online, and it was really catching fire. Someone sent it to me, and I said, oh, we need her on the show ASAP. And I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad to be here too. Yeah. Important conversations to be had.
Oh, if they knew what we were talking about off air. Okay, so ready? I have some rapid fire questions. Let's get right into it so people can get a little teaser about what we're going to be talking about. A term I never heard, you mentioned it, supernormal stimuli. What is that and how is it affecting our brains?
Sure. Supernormal stimuli are, they're basically digitally based these days, and they provide excessive dopamine to the brain. So they hook you on them. And then the way dopamine works, it's the molecule of more motivation and pleasure. It keeps you going back for more, and it's insatiable.
Oh my God, I can't wait to go into that. I want to know all of the stimuli that is hitting my eyes into my brain. Okay. One brain hack everyone should know.
Honestly, it is the service I provide, and this isn't the promo part, but I wish the world knew about it. We can train our brains to work better, optimally, and with advanced neuroscience technology, and there's an affordable piece of tech that people can get. Everybody could be doing this at home. Nobody knows about it.
Okay. Symptoms of someone whose brain is suffering.
These are tricky because they come on so slowly over time. Increased anxiety, decreased focus, increased depression, arousal dysfunction, especially when you get to the higher level supernormal stimuli. And arousal dysfunction, just to frame it, that includes anxiety, you're ramped up, ADHD, you don't have enough focus, but erectile dysfunction in men, and sexual arousal dysfunction, what I call SAD, in everybody.
I was reading a little bit about some of the things you love talking about, and actually, can a brain dysfunction cause intimacy dysfunction in relationships?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's a number one factor that's happening. Also, we know that the brain dysfunction causes lack of satisfaction within the relationship. People actually see themselves with poorer self-esteem and body image, and the same thing with their partners. At the same time, dopamine makes you chase novelty. So if you're chasing novelty, you are not content or happy with real intimacy, which is slower, doesn't hit hard.
Oh, that's a big one, I know, for people out there. And my last question, coffee for the brain, good or no good?
Well, I love coffee, so you're asking the wrong girl, but I will tell you the honest truth is that coffee's a stimulant. So like when it comes to coffee, if you're using it to stimulate your system, that's where the danger is. It's like money, you hear that money's not evil. It's how much you care about the money that is the challenge. It's the same thing with coffee. If you enjoy a cup of coffee in the morning, I think it's healthy for you. It's has polyphenols. It's going to stimulate the system. But, if you need it to keep going all day long, that's the issue.
Yeah, that's a big problem. And guess what? So many people do, right? All right. So let's get to this interview. I know you've dedicated so much of your career to help people rewire their brains. And a lot of us, our brains are wired in a way that has been sort of compensating for the lifestyle, especially for the advent of phones and everything else, tech moving fast. How has where we are right now over the past 10 years, how has our brain changed? What are you seeing in your clinic that is really becoming something where you're like, oh, whoa, this is a problem?
Yeah. And I've already kind of dangled the carrot out there. But so first of all, my clinic's online, so it's global. So it's not just to frame it. It's not, a local or territorial aspect that's happening. I work with people in almost every country. So this is a global epidemic. And I'm glad you asked this question because in my work, I use something called EEG, electroencephalogram. I can see how people's brains perform. And I know a lot of people think I'm filled with hyperbole, but because I can see people's brains, I know I'm not. So I have done thousands, tens of thousands of QEEG brain maps. I can see people's baseline brain performance. They fill out intake forms. I know what they have going on behaviorally. So I kept seeing the same brain pattern over and over and over and over that is not in the literature in terms of EEG, but there's other aspects of what I found. So long story short, I was blown away because healthy brains are now changing. The technology that I use is based on a database, a very large database of optimal brains. But now all brains are being exposed to technology. So I have seen the markers in my brain map change. And basically I see false positives and negatives because the optimal brain now will actually be a more dysfunctional brain because everybody is on tech. So that's number one, if you can follow me on that one, because I know that one's kind of deep, but I have nice working relationships with the tech companies that I work with. And, of course, I call this to their attention. I'm like, this whole thing is going to shift. It has shifted over the last 20 years. It's going to continue to shift. We need to think about it in a new way. But very specifically, I've just got done doing a study where I have basically identified the brain pattern using this technology for porn-induced erectile dysfunction. It creates a very distinct arousal dysfunction in the brain, and I've seen it thousands of times.
Wow. To get this clear for the viewers and listeners, the standard brain that you're seeing is dysfunctional?
Yes.
And that's...
And we know this. I'm not the first person to say this. There's books out there that say all brains are changing. Increase in anxiety, increase in ADHD. I just see it in people's brains. So it is, mind-blowing when all the maps, there is, it's going to be a unicorn, an optimized brain.
Whoa. And this is over the past 20 years?
Actually, it's really when I pivoted into screen addictions.
Okay, yes.
Because,
that's what I was going to ask.
Before that, but that's about 10 years old. So there is a time frame difference there. It has exacerbated over the last 10 years for sure. Because now we have children using social media. Everybody's using social media. People kind of stopped watching TV and now they're on screens in their pocket all the time. So that has changed over the last 10 years. But then my work also pivoted into, I was working more with like neurodevelopmental disorders, neurodegenerative. Actually, those would be two populations that would be less impacted by screen time.
But why? Why is that?
Neurodevelopmental is going to be little kids, so they wouldn't have had as much time. And then neurodegenerative is going to be older people who are much less likely to, be on the screen as much. Maybe Candy Crush like my parents. But beyond that,
Yeah. Okay. So I'm really trying to get a grasp of this because this actually falls into the umbrella of we're all under that umbrella. All of us. There's very few. I mean, that's the unicorn, the person who doesn't use social media, who is hardly ever on their phone. Okay. So let's say 98% of us are not the unicorns, probably even 99. And what is the mechanism? What's happening on the phone that is actually causing, over the span of 10 years, changes in our brain?
First of all, screens resonate at 60 hertz, which is a very fast bandwidth of energy. So just being exposed to screens, and just to qualify it, I guess, the healthy brain frequency for calm focus is about 10 hertz. So if you sit in front of 50 to 60 hertz all day long, our brain's attuned to that. That's the essence of blue light blocking glasses, is to reduce that. So just being in front of the screen is going to increase the frequency of your brain. So let's just say you started out at 8 a.m. at 10 hertz, calm, chill, totally focused. By noon, your 10 has become 20. By 4, your 20 hertz, it's ramping it up. So basically, that alone causes what I call a wired and tired brain. I call it the pendulum effect. Your brain gets stuck in fast and slow processing speeds simultaneously. So that wiring from the 60 hertz, it's ramping it up. It's going faster. As your brain goes faster, it fatigues. So now you start increasing the 2 hertz, the 3 hertz. So basically, your brain's going 30 hertz plus 3 hertz. To you, it might kind of feel like 10 hertz, but ultimately you feel anxious, depressed, and you can't focus. And then just one other thing, sorry to digress, I guess, but the other piece is the dopamine. So as dopamine floods your system, this wired and tired pattern, when you seek, when you scroll, when you have 12 tabs open, when you switch, all of those things are going to produce more and more dopamine. That dopamine desensitizes the reward center in the brain and the reward pathways that feed forward to the prefrontal cortex. So the prefrontal cortex makes us different from animals. Basically, it gives us impulse control, judgment, executive function skills, working memory, attention, focus, socialization. All of those skills become impaired because of the desensitization from the dopamine flooding from the supernormal stimuli.
Okay. I got to rewind to this wired but tired. This is, as soon as you said the hertz that are working on our phone, I thought about yesterday. So yesterday, I didn't have my computer on me, and I try to do most of my work on the computer because I don't have like social media on it. So I don't flip it crazy, and I usually have my blue blockers, and I actually understand that it has a lower flicker rate than the phone too, which is another thing that I would love to talk about. Okay, so here I am on my phone all day. I'm taking my calls, but also between calls, I'm just indulging. Yesterday was a sort of an indulge day. And I spent a lot of time just checking out. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And it was a slow day. I'm watching all these funny videos, sending them to my friends, and, going
cat
for a
videos.
walk, cat videos, coming back. So look, for long story short, I was using the phone a lot more than I usually do. Then came like late around like 5 o'clock, I started feeling my heart pounding and this so much anxiety inside of me. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll go to the gym and move it through me. But then I was so tired. So then I literally said these words yesterday. And it's funny you saying it to my girlfriend. I said, I feel wired but tired. And it was,
There you go.
I go, damn it, it was the phone. I couldn't believe it. And the last thing I want to say is, it has not affected me like that. This is a new quote unquote symptom that has arisen. So this is why I thought that I could just be on it. It'll be fine. But the wired but tired is a huge one. What the heck is happening to our brains? Are they shrinking? Are they adjusting? Is the anxiety centers going up? The fear centers going up? Is our prefrontal
It's all of it,
cortex,
actually.
all of it? Yeah. What's happening?
You nailed it.
Okay.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's exactly what it's doing. The amygdala gets engaged. That's the fear. All of it. It's slowing down. It's speeding up. It's getting stuck in neutral. I always use analogies, car analogies, just to make it easy so that people can wrap their mind around it. And from EEG, my standpoint, even though I can talk about all the other mechanisms, I like to talk about it from the electrical energy flow. But to comment to what you're talking about, is it shrinking? Yeah, there's 2 really strong studies, but there's more studies that show that it changes the structure of your brain. The white and the gray matter are shrinking, especially in the prefrontal cortex. So the answer is yes, your brain's shrinking too. But then from an electrical energy standpoint, it's going faster, it's ramping up. So it's hitting that gas, that acceleration, and it's hitting the brakes simultaneously. If you keep doing that, then your brain shifts into neutral also. So that's anxiety comes from the ramped up. ADHD symptoms or lack of focus comes from the braking. Depression comes from the sliding into neutral. Wow. And it can do all three simultaneously.
Wow. Yeah. So people will go through.
So for you, like if it's a new symptom, there's two things I want to say about that. Number one is that this is the tricky part. This is why it's so sneaky, because unless you're perceptive or you slow down enough and you think about this intentionally, you will miss the connection between how you feel at 5 p.m. and your behaviors throughout the day. And we know too that when your brain goes into those dysfunctional patterns, self-awareness decreases. A wired, tired, neutral brain, self-awareness is much lower. So that's one piece. The second piece is if a person experiences it as a new symptom, for you, maybe it's the first time. We're going to hope that. We're going to stick with that one for our story, at least. So like if you don't get on your phone and do all those things all day long, at the end of the day, you'll feel it and you'll be like, whoa, what is this feeling? It's because it's the first exposure or the first time you've done this and your brain is adjusting. But for other people, the more and more you feel it, this is tolerance building to the dopamine flow. This is escalation. Like these are warning signs from your mind and your body telling you your brain isn't working the way it's supposed to.
Wow. It's, you know what, if I think about like the frog in the boiling water, we just haven't noticed over 10 years that I actually thought to myself, how did I feel 10 years ago? And I couldn't really like fully remember, but I think I remember I was a lot more clearer and faster in my processing. And I wonder how many people, I mean, I look at like younger generations, they're like strictly on their phone. They're out in public on their phone. At least like I'm walking in the streets, but like people are like looking at their phone and it's
they call them digital natives because which I have 5 children that are all primarily young adults now. My oldest is 22. My youngest is 14. So they're all within that age, you know, and they're the first generation that grew up with phones. And I actually was very intentional about I still am, about teaching them to use their phones well. Yeah. But for those who have gotten, you know, sucked into it, this is how they live. And this is how we will see that optimal brain pattern change more and more and more over time.
Yeah. Look, for me, this is the biggest public health issue because everyone is using a phone. Everyone is being affected. 2 months ago.
Yeah. And if I can
go ahead.
If I can share something with you, if you want to go deeper.
Yeah, let's go deeper. Of course. This is important.
So
it's no secret we are swimming in a bed of invisible signals, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 5G. It's everywhere. And I want to tell you what's fascinating from the biological standpoint. Some research is suggesting that these EMF signals can actually flip on tiny calcium channels in your cells, which are allowing too much calcium to flood in. Well, when too much calcium builds up, it creates cellular stress. It throws off your entire balance of your system. Now, magnesium is one way of balancing that intracellular calcium. It keeps those channels in check. And magnesium, we know, helps maintain that delicate balance of calm and steady. And here's the kicker. When you're constantly exposed to EMFs, your magnesium burn rate actually increases. Your body goes through it faster than usual, and most of us are already running dangerously low. 70% of us are deficient. And even to make things worse, most magnesium supplements on the market only contain 2 basic forms that your body is barely absorbing. I've been so excited. I've been talking about Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. It's never just another magnesium. It's the only formula that actually contains all 7 forms of magnesium, each made to support different areas of your life, like stress, resilience, sleep quality, and just overall energy. And because it's formulated for optimal absorption, your body's gonna actually love taking it in. I take it daily, 2 times in the night, 1 time in the morning. It's better for my bowels, it's better for my nervous system, it's better for my sleep. And in a world where we're exposed to electromagnetic frequencies all the time, you gotta support your cellular magnesium. Go to bioptimizers.com/DRG. Use the code DRG to save 15% off. They're so confident they even offer a 365-day guarantee. So there is no risk. Try it out, bioptimizers.com/DRG, and the code is DRG. Let me talk to you something that has been a total game changer in my home, and it's probably not what you think. It is an air purifier, because what we breathe in matters as much as what we eat or drink. And air quality in our homes can be filled from everything from mold spores to pollen to smoke to allergies. And air purifiers are so important. Most of them are going to be in plastic boxes, make a lot of noise. And then I discovered the Jasper. The Jasper was brought to me by my sales team, and they said, this is a fantastic air purifier. And I looked into it, and it was true. I loved it so much that I got the founder on. And what immediately caught my attention is the design. It's so many of the air purifiers are clunky, antiquated looking, 90s looking, and this is sleek, quiet, and powerful. But here's what really got me. It's built with steel, not plastic. So we're talking about machines that are actually built to last. So Jasper handles everything from smoke to mold to pollen, all the allergens that make you feel terrible without you even realizing why. Whether you're dealing with seasonal allergies, live in an area that is susceptible to wildfires or smoke, or just want the cleanest air possible in your home, get this. I am confident that you will love it. It has a lifetime warranty. Yes, lifetime. That tells you everything you need to know about the quality and engineering that goes into these units. Since I've been using my Jasper for about a year now, I have 2 running. One's on the first floor, one's on the second floor. I have 3 actually, 1 first floor, second, third floor. And I've noticed cleaner air, better overall sleep, and just an overall sense that my home environment is clean. The air is nice. We tested it. We have people come in and test the air and they say the air is super clean. Thank you, Jasper. Go to jasper.co/DRG and use the code DRG for $200 off for a limited time. That is jaspr.co/DRG. The code is DRG.
I'm getting ready to write my next book. So I've been doing a lot of research. My first book is called Mind Over Explicit Matter. It's focused entirely on explicit matter, on pornography consumption, but then also kind of ranging out to other explicit matter types of content. We can talk about that later. But what I wanted to share is that, thinking about supernormal stimuli and the younger a person or a brain is, that kind of gets sucked into, we'll just leave it at social media to make it easy. What we know is that it's changing identity formation in children and adolescents, identity formation, and it makes total sense. So we're going to have, going back to we have a crisis. This is an epidemic. It's the largest public health concern there is, because we will have a generation of people, we already do, that their identity's being formed by the likes and the hearts and the number of people who are looking at their content. So there's a large body of literature on identity formation from a psychological standpoint and neurological. And so basically that becomes maladaptive. It's not healthy. And I use my one daughter in particular as an example. She rides horses. She's a very good equestrian. She's 14 years old. But she really only goes on social media to be part of the equestrian community. She doesn't put any hypersexualized content. She's just there to connect. But many people are going on and they're posting a picture and they're waiting to see how many people like and heart it. And then we know this. There's many quote unquote influencers that are being influenced also by the people who are following them. So they'll go in one direction because that's where they're getting the validation. So someone who would have become an attorney now becomes an OnlyFans person because that's where all the likes and hearts are. It's difficult to be an attorney. It has to be internally motivated. That's the difference in identity formation. You do what you do because you want to. You're internally motivated, not externally.
Yeah. I and not to even mention how the screens are affecting our motivation anyway. So it's even harder. And the self-awareness. How do you get in touch with your own self-aware motivation if those are being hijacked? And I want all the viewers and listeners to listen carefully. This is, like we just said, the public health issue. And I would love more people talking about this. I'm not sure why. Like I work in the space of nervous system regulation and somatics and trauma and repression. I look at those things. Yes, those are things that can affect the nervous system. The moment I step out of there and what lifestyle or behavioral things, the first thing I talk about is phone and sleep. You can't go past those and say the nervous system is going to be healthy. If those are dysregulated, the nervous system will be dysregulated, no matter how much trauma is in there. And so I think to myself, I went to Josh Retreat 2 months ago and I did no phone for 4 days. Zero stimulation. First of all, I was really bored the first 2 days. I was watching I was watching a little desert squirrel just eat a papaya for 40 minutes. And I'm like, okay, this is what it is. I love it. But when I came back here, that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, those 4 days were some of the best, sharpest, clearest, most
You're
inspired.
on fire.
On fire. My partner said, I've never seen you after work hours still working and still like typing up and doing your own personal projects. There was no shutdown. It was fully in. And then I thought to myself, okay, well, here's this little device that I have here that most of my life revolves around. How do I balance it? What is there, now you're doing all this research and you're writing this book, is there a number, like 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day? Is there a behavioral thing? Or is it totally like these things? There's no way around it. We cannot have phones. We got to figure out a new way to live.
No. And there are numbers that are put out by like the National Institute of Health and those types of things, but I don't like to anchor into that. What I do like to anchor into is the essence of balance, right? Like our devices are honestly like the greatest asset we have in today's day and age. Like it allows you and I to connect. No devices, we're not here right now. But being really cognizant about how you're using it. And the easiest way to put it is why? Why are you there? Right? Like, why are you on your device? So even if you want to watch cat videos, you know you need a break. First of all, if you need a break from your devices, you don't take that break on another device. That's the balance part. So you're taking a break from work. You can't then take it watching cat videos. You have to do it taking a walk or exercising or having lunch with someone and laughing in the world. To me, it's about how much you're online versus how much you're in your life. There has to be, I would suggest, at least a 50-50 balance. In today's day and age, that's very difficult. Like even for me, I really only use my tech to work, but that's still a lot of tech, right? So like, and then I will get caught into, slacking people and WhatsApping people and texting people. So I only do that. I sit down and I do that in an interval and then I go back to my life. I don't take the Slacks and the WhatsApps and all day long. And, a lot of people are proponents of that type of schedule where you schedule these things in. I call it a flexibly scheduled life. You have to look at your week and create the life that you want, recognizing, use your tech well, don't let it use you. And when you consume passive content and 1 hour's gone by, that's dopamine dependency. Your tech is ruling your life, not vice versa. And just one more thought about that. The way I talk about it is, I think it's the most important time in history where if you want to create a life that you want, you have to be a top 1% person. It's imperative. And this goes back to Darwinism. In Darwinism, high level women would want to mate with high level men. And then, in pair bonding. And then the lower level men were left to be chosen by the lower level females. So it's just so logical. Figure out how to balance all of this and be a top tier person who knows what you stand for, knows what you want, creates a schedule to be able to accomplish those things while enjoying your life and using your tech well.
That lifestyle balance approach to it, imperative. What I'm hearing is, I didn't hear you say, no, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, 2 hours. What you're saying is you have to integrate it in a healthy way. If we're just like shutting it out, it's going to creep back in. It's about the integration.
Definitely.
But when you said 50-50 on tech and 50-50, like we're 50-50 and then we're going out in nature, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, most of the week, most people aren't there. So that means you have to totally start scheduling and prioritizing that time in nature, whether it's the morning or after work, to really, really, really start connecting, or off time. And, you're going out to eat with your partner, you're working out, like you said, like real life stuff, the things that we did 90% of the time, 100% of the time.
Absolutely. And it's interesting too, because you said, how'd you feel 10 years ago? You can't totally remember. Yeah. And I wanted to make a point, but you made the point for me with the Joshua Tree experience. Just a couple days disconnected from your devices and you felt so much better. And it was difficult in the first day or two, because I feel that on the days where I'm just busier working using my tech, or the days where I'm back and forth, on my phone and my brain feels the worst, and I'm very good at it. So I always think to myself, I'm good at balancing it. I can't imagine how people feel that aren't that good. But on the days when I'm really, really balanced, I just feel so good. And my goal is to have as many days like that as possible. And just one more thing too, going back to, I have 5 children. So the reason that's important is I've had to help them with their tech in 5 different ways.
Yeah.
So I know, like, I'm a little different because I've really never got sucked into too much tech except for work. But like, I have one son who he's 18. He's, gamer's got a game. He loves to game with his friends. Like, he would sit at his computer gaming all day long. No other child of mine does that. I have a daughter who was putting too risque of photos. Mm-hmm. I've had to enter into, like, I have another son who's 21. He put blockers on himself years ago without me ever saying it. And he has an app that he can only go on for so long because he knows he will get caught in a click hole. I love that. So that's why me saying, 1 hour, I know how different it is. Yeah. So like with my son with the gaming, when he was little, I taught him you can only be on for 1.5 hours. And then you need to be outside for double that.
Wow.
And it's really cool. He still does it. And it took me like 5 years to get him to do it. He still does it, but he'll game with his friends, and I'll go in there to he's leaving for college soon. So let's hope it stays, but I'll go in there to tell him he needs to get off. And he's not even here. He's been at lunch with them. They go play pickleball. They play basketball. Then they go to lunch. Then they'll come back and game. I'm like, that is just so cool. And that's what we can do for our children is, first of all, model it yourself. Cause I've always modeled it. And then, you have to be their frontal lobes till they're 28.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking to myself, how many people don't even have those rules, and how many parents, it's easier for their child to be in that portal and then they can get the things done that they need to get done. It's sort of like an easy way to parent now is giving them the big iPads, and the kids are just staring at these screens. So in the context of devices, we have cell phones, iPads, laptops, TVs. Which one's the absolute worst for our brain?
I would contend, iPads and phones are going to have basically the flicker rate and what you're talking about. Let's hit it from a couple angles. So number one, your phone's in your pocket. So that alone is just the frequency of use with the higher flicker rate. That is going to put you at more risk, because I feel like at least most people use their iPads a little bit more intentionally. Most people aren't walking around checking their iPad all the time.
That's right.
The young generation, they are walking around on their phone the vast majority of the time. Or even just, my kids do this and I unplug them from this, just listening to music all the time, just having something going in their head all the time. If you're taking in or you're putting out, you're using your brain. Your brain needs downtime. So the phones, but the TVs are the best for you. Most people don't even have TVs anymore. So that's interesting. I recommend to all my clients, get a TV. First of all, it allows you to be more intentional about screen time because you sit down and you watch, a 30-minute show and then you're done. And the way that it resonates is different. It's better for your brain. But the other thing I wanted to hit is what you're watching, because speaking of rate, so many shows now have the screen changes so fast. If you watch a show from 30 years ago or, even 30 years ago, it's like you're watching a play on a screen. Now it's, the editing is so overstimulating. That's very important also.
I love that you said that because there's times in the day where, look, I love movies. I love acting. I love the art of movies. And so part of the way that I appreciate art is by watching artists on stage. So I love watching great movies or great shows. And I've always felt this is so much better for me than being on my phone because it's away from me. I'm focused on one thing. It's really rich acting. It's slow paced, but sometimes I'm thinking to myself, wait, maybe I'm on a screen. I shouldn't be on any screens. But at this point, it's nice to hear you say, hey, that's a lot better than you looking on TikTok and just going and going and going and going.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. It's so much better for you. And I never watched, I'm like, I like to watch movies too. My family, we watch movies, but like beyond screen, I would never go on a screen. But old me would work till 10 p.m.
Yeah.
So I've actually taught myself to watch things, which is, I am the reverse of most people. But again, like I'll watch a slow show that has like rich storylines to it. I will not watch anything that's super stressful because I'm using it to come down at the end of the night. And I try to watch things that are more motivational, so it is a really good way to relax at the end of the day if you haven't bombarded your brain with devices. And one more thing I wanted to share too, going back to like, what's the worst device? One of the worst things you can do is use your device, whatever that thing is, for mood regulation. That's what most people are doing. So going back to your comment about like, it's easy to plunk your kid in front of no matter what, a phone, an iPad, a TV. If your child cries and you want to go to dinner, don't get me wrong, I have 5 kids, so you need a break. You get a babysitter. You don't bring them with you and put them on an iPad because they cry, they get the device. That's mood regulation. For adults, you worked all day, you're all stressed out, you go on TikTok for an hour. You're using it for dopamine. That's the why. That's what I mean. And so many people are going on for higher level supernormal stimuli. They're going on to get bigger hits. That's the idea of hypersexualized content or violence or drama. All of that is going to give the brain more dopamine than watching the slow shows that you and I are talking about.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I was thinking to myself, I knew that this was an issue. Long day, just lay down on the couch and just turn off and watch funny TikTok videos. That's mood regulation, you're saying. That's looking for more dopamine just to feel better in your body.
It is.
Okay. Yeah.
And
how many of us do that?
Long day, call your friend. Yeah. And I had a really cool experience myself. I don't know, it was probably like a month ago. And my friends called and they wanted to go to dinner on a Friday. And I had a week, and I'm like, I'm kind of beat. I don't feel like going. And we went for dinner. And after dinner, 1 hour later, I felt completely downshifted. Like, how you had that experience of feeling up, basically up regulated, dysregulated yesterday. I said, this is crazy. Like just sitting here with you for 1 hour, having lovely conversation, nice slow food that's brought out slow and was amazing. So like, that's what you need after a long week. And it sent me into the weekend in a different place than I was, at 5 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, I was in a totally different place, downshift. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like it plays into our own innate need to feel truly connected, authentically connected, not screen connected, and being with people and community. I mean, like that's the best medicine. I think that's the anti-medicine to the phone, actually, is just the opposite.
It is. It's so cool. My husband sent a text this morning. He's like, do you want to go for dinner tonight? And I could feel how edgy he was yesterday while we were making dinner. So he's like, you want to go for dinner tonight? And I'm like, yeah, definitely. And I'm like, that's really cool. Cause he recognized like he needs a break. And for us to have to make dinner for the fam again tonight would likely like put him over the edge. So I love that. That's him recognizing in the morning, like, yeah, I was edgy yesterday. I don't want to go into that again with the fam. So we're going to go out for dinner and have nice time together where we're not figuring out food again. Really self-aware, nice self-awareness. Doing the thing that you need, prioritizing it.
Absolutely. We mentioned super normal stimuli multiple times. Can you define this for the people viewing and listening? What is this? And is this the thing that's affecting our brain the most?
Yes, very much. So supernormal stimuli basically are, we can talk digitally and we can go real world if you want, but it's mostly digital. It gives your brain very high levels of dopamine. So basically, if you were at healthy baseline dopamine, when you expose yourself to these different digital behaviors and interactions, it increases your dopamine a lot. And a lot of people feel it. That's what makes you feel good at first. But then it changes your baseline need for dopamine. That's why you feel worse over time. So let's talk about what they are. First and foremost, up at the top is pornography proper. It's up there, very high dopamine. People feel that immediately. You feel the escapism. You feel numb. Just think about how you're feeling and what it must be doing to your brain, right? You feel invigorated, but then you feel numb. Down from there now, which it necessitates discussion, is OnlyFans. OnlyFans is a little lower in level, but it's creating parasocial relationships. I actually think it's a higher level concern, even though it's a lower level supernormal stimuli. We can come back to that. Parasocial relationship means it's one way. It's transactional for the performer, but people, and we know 89% of people on OnlyFans from recent research are married men. So they're going on OnlyFans to feel like they're in this novel, exciting relationship with this young woman.
Yep.
That is, I think, more devastating to brains and relationships and intimacy, like we've already talked about. Then when we're still up there, like TikTok and social media, Instagram, especially if you're using it in a hypersexualized way, which most people are. We know from research, women are learning to self-objectify. So they're posting things, and then men are learning to like those images. So that is very dopamine producing on both ends. We know from recent research that those types of social media interactions are increasing narcissism in men. So we can come back to that. Lots of ramifications. But then there's gaming. Then there's just working. Then there's short form videos. Then there's long form videos. Dating apps are up there with OnlyFans. More married men are on dating apps than single, which obviously is problematic. Even checking your emails, checking your texts, checking your DMs, Snapchat, like it runs the gamut.
Wow.
Those are all supernormal stimuli. So every time you feel the pull to pick up your phone, whatever your particular, stimuli is, that pull that you feel to check your email or to go on social media or to, take in some content, it's the dopamine that's driving it.
Pornography, number one.
Yeah, it's the highest level. We know, actually, Andrew Huberman talked about the science behind this not too long ago, that it's a 400% increase in from baseline dopamine pornography consumption, and cocaine's a 450 level, 450% increase. So that's the novelty aspect. When it comes to porn proper, we could just call it, you can basically pull up anything that you want as quickly as possible to get to what for you in particular is the highest level supernormal stimulus. And that's different for different people. And the difference usually goes back to what they first were exposed to when they were young, and that link in the brain of dopamine and whatever particular thing a person's consuming, that link gets formed. And that's where arousal templates are changed, fetishes, or what a person's into.
It's incredible to hear that, because it's just became so much more accessible, and
yeah, and it's normalized now, which I think that's a very interesting piece of it. If you talk to young people, and actually one of my clients brought it up to me that he's like, every show I watch, someone's watching porn. I'm like, that is crazy. I never thought about how now it's being put out there culturally, like it's the norm, and it's not even, that there's no ramifications.
Yeah, there's none.
Unfortunately, what the level of dopamine does, and I don't need to tell people this who have experienced it, that it can render people almost non-functional because it floods the system so much. And it's logical. All this stuff's logical, honestly. I think if you just think about it for a minute and you recognize it for what it is, if your brain gets linked to whatever thing for the most amount of dopamine, it keeps going back there. That's where it wants to go. There can't possibly be enough dopamine in your work anymore. Work for a healthy brain is very dopamine producing. Like every day I wake up all jazzed up to get some more work done because I'm so psyched about it. Hobbies. I love to box. I boxed this morning. I box almost every day. Love it. Like it's so much fun. Actually, I played basketball today with my dog too. I beat him all the time. No opposable thumbs. And then your people, like, I was psyched. I hit my husband with a yes with a bunch of exclamation points to go to dinner with our family tonight. Like that's a yes. Those are very dopamine producing. But what happens for people the screen becomes the dopamine source.
Yeah.
Those things, because they can't compare, we're talking about 400% in porn to what would be, very low levels in your life. And then the dopamine in the screen wins out.
Always does. And it's incredible to hear that comparison to cocaine. I mean, it hooks. And that's why there's Porn Addiction Anonymous and groups that are focusing on this. It's become more problematic over the years. At least I've heard, maybe it was problematic before people were talking about it, but now people are kind of even talking about it more. It's like, yeah, I have this addiction.
Yeah, it's very problematic since high-speed internet pornography came on the scene. Again, It's logical. And there's actually a very large disinformation campaign out there, just like with the smoking industry. It's crazy, I think. There is a disinformation campaign saying, oh, what's the difference between high-speed internet porn? It's the novelty. It's the accessibility.
Yeah.
They call it the AAAs. It's affordable, accessible, and anonymous. And kids can access it. And they are in the lunchrooms, So,
Jesus.
My youngest daughter, she's 14. And, all of her friends are into my work and that, but they think it's funny and they all know they're wrapped up in it. They will make comments to me. I'm like, listen, y'all, you need to step away from that for your sake, not for mine. I'm the messenger,
Yeah. And it does. We spoke about this in the rapid fire. It affects your level of intimacy with your partner. All of this, the OnlyFans, the pornography, over addiction, flooding of dopamine. You said it affects performance. It can, and you mentioned erectile dysfunction. Physically, it can affect us too.
Oh, yeah. There is a significant increase in ED and sexual arousal dysfunction. Sad. Since in the last 10 years in particular, there's studies before that, but it's skyrocketing. And again, going back to a point you made, because you're like, oh, maybe porn was a problem before, but now we know about it more. Now people are talking about it more, and there's more research coming out with the people who are willing to admit they have a porn problem. So that's always an issue too. But the research on ED is skyrocketing in men under 40 with a direct link to pornography consumption. There's studies that show that men with ED under 40 have a higher likelihood of porn consumption. And when they stop, the ED goes away.
Wow.
And I've worked with thousands and thousands of men. That's the primary people that I help is men with ED, because the pain point's so strong. They don't want ED and they don't want it fast. And when people work with me, because they can step away from porn consumption and we can bring their brains online fast, then their ED can go away really fast.
Incredible. When you say work with you, is it through neurofeedback?
Yeah.
Can you tell us
I
what
use
that is?
QEG. Yeah, I use QEG brain mapping. So I can identify the areas and the levels of dysfunction in all areas of the brain. It pops off the page. And especially this pattern that I've identified and now solidified, it just, boom, there it is. And, some of my clients will joke when I meet with them to go over their brain map, they'll be like, oh, I saw my brain is effed. And I'm like, I wouldn't say that. I would just say there's absolute room for improvement, and we can identify where and how to do that. Then now I have my own app, Dr. Trish Leigh app, where, again, I work with some of the highest tech companies in the world. So I have the app now, and I set very customized, individualized protocols that basically I've identified behind this, because other people don't even know they exist. And then I'm able to help that person regulate their brain back to optimal for the first time ever, usually, because most people find porn when they're 10 So, and brains develop to 28, like I already told you. So that's 18 years of dysfunctional development.
Wow. When we think about a dysfunctional brain that's really been affected by tech over the past 10 years and whatever other habits earlier on, how long does it take, like my brain is all messed up brain, to come back to optimal? I know the brain is plastic and it can change and it can strengthen, but I know it doesn't happen overnight. How long does that take?
Now, of course, there's a lot of variables. So the timing question is the most difficult one to answer, because there are so many variables. But I will tell you this, the program that I offer is 4 months long. And I can basically help a person within 4 months, or they are so far on their way then what I do is a person can stay in my program for as long as they want or need. So a lot of people will stay 5, 6, 7 months, but they're well on their way. They know they're accomplishing their goal, and all of my work has real-time data. So it's not just me going, oh, this is working for you. This is great. You know, you feel it, they feel it, but then we watch those metrics. I can change the protocols if I need to, but they're watching those metrics every single day. Some people get a little addicted to them. They're like, I'm afraid I'm addicted to neurofeedback. I'm like, that's okay for now. We definitely, this is much better than being addicted to your screen. But, you know, so they can see it. So a person can always see where they began, where they are on any given day, and how far away from optimal they are. And it's amazing, actually. And then again, it does matter if they can step away from the behaviors. And a really cool, interesting thing happens all the time. Like a person will come to me for, let's just say, ED from porn. Then as we build rapport and we get to know each other and they start the work, then they'll be like, I drink 12 cups of coffee each day. Because we're talking about autonomic nervous system dysfunction here. When I talk about arousal dysfunctions, that's what it is. It's ANS dysfunction. Too much sympathetic fight or flight, not enough parasympathetic, or sometimes too much. Yeah. So then you know, a client of mine is like, I use nicotine patches to focus because I can't focus on my work anymore, or I take, you know, ADHD meds even though I don't have ADHD. So usually I'll find out how people are upregulating and downregulating. Marijuana, alcohol, there tends to be a bit of a Molotov cocktail there, and the goal is to help a person regulate from within so they don't need any of those things. And that's what we help people do.
Hey, man, I love that. Getting back to that self-awareness, like you said, that we sort of lose when we're on our screen so much, and actually knowing what we need and making that connection, like, wait a minute, this has been too much for me today. One of the hardest things I think is that.
I just wanted to make a comment about sleep, because you made a comment, you know, you talk to people about screens and sleep. Sleep comes from a brainwave that basically resonates at 1 to 3 hertz, very slow. So if you are in this, you know, fight or flight, if you're in this revved up, anxiety provoking fast speed, the wired, which is primarily at the core of the issue, your brain is so far asleep from the sleep mode that it will not catch the sleep cycle at night. So your question about a person's digital habits and their sleep habits, they're going to be fundamentally interlocked. And most of the people I work with have very poor sleep because dopamine really, you know, can wreak havoc on the brain catching the sleep cycle and moving through it. So that is a very large issue. So I just wanted to just kind of bring it back to, like, sleep's a number one symptom also, but it can be tricky for people to put these pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah. Is it I've been on high dopamine all day, blue screen, circadian disruption, flicker rates, my brain's activated, like you mentioned, the hertz, and my brain's high. And then what if that person goes, okay, well, I'm just going to put my phone down at the end of the day. How much time is it going to take if they've been on their phone all day stimulated? Is it hours upon hours?
It can take 2 hours, I would say, roughly, for the average person. And people can feel this out if they can increase their self-awareness. Even just working, like, if you're a busy person, regardless of the screen time is going to contribute to it. Most of us live an overstimulated life in the first place, right? Like, we're just going far too much. Then you add screens to it. So the brain's very ramped up. That's why evening routines and nighttime routines, going back to that flexibly scheduled life, they're imperative. Having a good morning routine, make sure you take a lunch, not at your desk. And, you know, this is the parasympathetic. It's rest and digest, rest and relax. Do you have that time in your day? The answer is no for many people. They're eating in the car, they're eating while they work, and then having an evening routine where you just hang out. And honestly, I like to make dinner, because making dinner and, like, my family comes, that takes like an hour and a half, and it's just like bring it down time. That's imperative, but it can take like 2 hours just from being ramped up in the first place.
Just to wind down.
But you can feel it out. And then just to tell you one more thing is that, like, many people are using their screens, especially when it comes to porn, for a high dopamine activity to shift their brain out of that wired and tired state, because basically that's what all the dopamine does. like the dopamine on and off, that's going to really stress a brain out. But if you flood your brain with dopamine at the end of the night, that will shift you into sleep for, usually around 3 to 5 hours, but then you'll wake up because of the disruption. My point about that is there basically is a type of insomnia that's linked to flooding your brain with all that dopamine at the end of the night. Many people use porn as sleep med.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. To go to sleep. And you're saying that it's an artificial way, first of all, and it only lasts 3 to 5 hours. So you won't really get a...
Yeah, and drinking's the same thing. If you have 4 drinks, right. You're going to pass right out. You're going to pass right out, but you will wake up at 3 a.m. because your brain it's adrenal fatigue. Usually, like the brain's in adrenal fatigue. You just hit it with a depressant and then it passes out, but it hasn't actually caught the sleep cycle. The way the sleep cycle works is your brain is supposed to speed up and slow down throughout the night. Slow down, it's up and down basically, but then you wake up naturally if you've gone through that sleep cycle. So most people are getting non-restorative sleep. They're waking up feeling exhausted because they never did that. Sleep's the most important thing for restoration. Our cells heal themselves. It's very, very important. And if you don't sleep well, your days are worse and everything. It's a flywheel. It's literally a negative feedback loop in terms of, neurological regulation.
There's a lot of people going to therapists for their anxiety and depression. And most of the time it's just rooted in this new lifestyle of just being addicted to the phone. And it's a shame that most therapists aren't being taught these integrative interventions.
Yeah. And I will tell you, one of my, I feel like it's not that you asked me a question, but you know how if you're on an interview, they're like, tell me the worst downfall about you, And so what I was going to say is that I try to fill all the holes for in this situation. That's like a thing that I do because I am creating a training program for therapists, counselors, coaches, so that they can be trained on the impact of explicit matter, first and foremost, but then screen time and all of these other supernormal stimuli, because I feel like that's the way I can make a huge impact in the world is if I can train these other professionals to, first of all, ask the questions. Many of them don't even ask the question. Like so many of the clients that come to me, they're like, I told my therapist about porn, but it made her uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Absolutely. First of all, you have to ask the question, do you watch porn? If so, how long, how often, and how much are you on your screens? What does your screen time look like? That'll fill in the gaps on anxiety, ADHD, and depression. And honestly, that's how I pivoted into this work. I had a neurofeedback client and I was working on his ADHD symptoms and anxiety and feelings of depression, but didn't know about the porn. And I told you, I mostly was working with kids and older people. This gentleman, I'm like, I'm so successful with other people. What is my problem here? Then by circumstance, he tells me about the porn. His story's in my book, Mind Over Explicit Matter. But when I found that out, it lit my brain up. I couldn't let it go because I'm like, porn and my inability to help him through neurofeedback. He's very stuck. And it's because it's a behavioral addiction. So it doesn't feel the same as drug or alcohol use to people. It's a behavioral addiction that continues to dysregulate the brain, creating these dysfunctional patterns. So if you can stop the behavior, the brain comes online fast. Yeah. That's the beauty of neuroplasticity.
It comes on fast. Just like that Joshua Tree trip, I just felt it immediately. It was incredible. How do when people want to work with neurofeedback, is that insurance covered or is it out of pocket?
It's out of pocket. For me, especially working around the world, I have let my license go. And my husband and I, we have a practice where we do file insurance and all that. He runs that practice, but there's codes for it, but very rarely does it cover it. So that's why. And I have a client, and I think, most people who understand this world, I have a client who says all the best things aren't covered by insurance.
That's
and
right.
This falls into that category.
It's true.
But what I can tell you is it's an investment. But if you're looking for a high return on investment in a pretty easy, efficient, and fairly short time frame, especially if you're like most of my clients who have been suffering with ED, think about what ED does to your relationship. Like, I have clients, they've had ED for over 10 years. And one client, he wants me to share a story. His doctor told him to get a back surgery because there was, he went and he paid $17,000 for a back surgery that of course did nothing. They never asked him about porn use. And we're in the midst right now. We're on our way, 4 months later. So in terms of return on investment, like if you have big issues and you want them solved, this is really an important piece of the puzzle. It's not the end all and be all, but it's a piece of the puzzle for sure.
Sounds super, super important. And we could see what our brains look like and what's the state of our brain and how much, I can't imagine if someone sees a shot of their brain and they see that it's dysfunctional and you're explaining to them, they go, oh my God, what have I been doing with this social media use or blue light?
Yeah, honestly. And people really a lot of people like enter into the grieving process. They're mad at themselves. And I'm like, knowledge is power. And at least we're here right now. Like you have the whole rest of your life ahead of you, because many of the people I work with, they really do have a lot of mental health issues. They have physical health issues, and not just from explicit matter. To go to your point, I have many people who feel addicted to YouTube. And that's why I want people to they just watch, like they feel the need to go back and watch videos. They can't get their work done. Wow. Their brains become, they feel like mush to them. They feel these arousal dysfunctions. But, if that's the case, like there's a solution. And just to speak to like meditation and other, of course, I love all these modalities. I'm totally into all of them. I feel like my role with neurofeedback is to close the gap, because if you're very dysregulated, it's challenging to do meditation because you're way out here, wired and tired. To meditate, you need to get to this middle space. For sure. So neurofeedback really closes the gap for people. Then they can do all those other things with their mind and body to create the positive flywheel.
Amazing. Okay. Yeah. So how do people find you?
It's easy. drtrishleigh.com. It's kind of a hub that can take you wherever you need to go. It has a link to my YouTube channels. I have multiple channels. There's the links there. If you're struggling with explicit matter, it's very easy what to do. It's all there.
Amazing. And your first book, what was the name?
It's called Mind Over Explicit Matter. It's available anywhere, and on Amazon's easiest for most people.
And we're excited for you to write your other one and get our hands on that.
I'm psyched too.
Amazing stuff. I want to thank you. Like when I say this is public health and the work you're doing is like the most important work, I really mean it. This is everyone. It permeates everyone. I can feel your passion on it, your knowledge. And I'm
trying.
Yeah, we need more of it. And I'm really honored to have you speak to my people here on Heal Thyself to really make an impact on their lives. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.